Some games feel like they were made to break you. Most people quit before reaching halfway, swallow their frustration, and move on to something else. But the ones who keep going, even on the edge, discover a feeling that's hard to explain. It's that gritty victory earned in the silence of the night without waking anyone up. These are the 23 games that humiliate, destroy, and hook anyone brave enough to keep pushing forward. I'm Jax, and if you're new here, welcome to Play Hunters. I bring daily content to keep you up to date with everything happening in the gaming world, and if you can subscribe to help me grow, I'd really appreciate it, from one gamer to another. Before we begin, tell me what's the hardest game you've ever beaten? The one that almost broke you, but you pushed through out of sheer rage and pride? And let's start. Bloodborne throws you into a world rotting with madness, where death isn't punishment, it's routine. With no clear explanations, you wake up in the middle of the longest night ever, surrounded by twisted creatures and echoes of something even worse. The story is fragmented, told through items and ruins, and demands effort to piece together. Everything feels on the brink of collapse, and hope is nowhere to be found. The gothic atmosphere crushes you at every step. There's no comfort, only chaos, and if you stop, the game devours you. The difficulty is brutal, but never unfair. Dodging and striking becomes a bloody dance where every mistake is fatal. There are no shields, you survive by being aggressive. The combat rewards courage and reflexes, not caution. Bosses are massive and demand total focus. Even regular enemies can wreck you if you slip. Nothing is easy, not even reaching the next lantern. The game constantly tests your patience and persistence. The map is a giant interconnected maze hiding secrets behind every cracked wall. You walk through narrow streets, abandoned churches, rotting forests, and places that look ripped straight from nightmares. Everything is connected, and finding a shortcut is more satisfying than beating a boss. The world doesn't guide you, it watches. And just when you think you understand, something new shows up to destroy you. There's a constant weight on every step. Bloodborne doesn't want to please you, it wants to see if you can take it. And if you make it to the end, what's left isn't just victory. It's the memory that you survived something truly cruel. Sekiro doesn't forgive. There's no stamina bar, no magic builds, no grinding to make things easier. It's just you, your sword, and the perfect timing of every strike. The game opens in a war-torn, corrupted Japan, mixing legends with raw violence. The story is straightforward but layered, full of pain, honor, and sacrifice. And no matter how epic things get, the real battle always happens between you and your own failure. There's no luck. Everything depends on you. Combat is pure rhythm. Posture, parry, and reflexes matter more than raw damage. You need to learn patterns, adapt on the fly, and never hesitate. Every boss is a wall. You'll hit it, fall, get back up, until you break through. There's no room for escape or stalling. When you win, it's because you learned. The feeling of mastering the system is unreal, not because you got stronger, but because you became worthy of moving forward. The environments are gorgeous and menacing. Burning villages, collapsing temples, blood-soaked castles, verticality is key, with the grappling hook unlocking insane exploration and combat possibilities. Secrets are everywhere, lost stories, enemies lurking on rooftops. The world is harsh but beautiful. Every new place takes your breath away before the fight even starts, and you never know what's around the next corner. Sekiro doesn't want you to just play, it wants you to fight, and if you have the guts to keep falling until you learn, it'll reward you with one of the most satisfying feelings any game can give. Dark Souls starts by telling you the world is doomed and still, you have to move forward. No tutorials, no hand-holding, everything is hostile, everything wants you to quit, but something pulls you ahead. Curiosity, stubbornness, or maybe just pride. The story is told in fragments, buried in item descriptions and pieces of wall. It's up to you to connect it all. And the more you understand, the more tragic and deep it becomes. It's a game that speaks little, but says everything. The challenge isn't just in enemies, it's baked into the design. Nothing is handed to you. You win when you learn, die when you repeat mistakes. Every fight is a test of patience. One slip and it's over. Even the weakest enemies can humiliate you. Bosses become nightmares, but when you win, it's never luck. It's because you earned it. Few games make victory feel this meaningful, and that's what gets you hooked. The map is a level design masterpiece. Areas connect in unexpected ways, shortcuts save your life, and every discovery is a reward. Castles, swamps, fortresses, each one with a soul. Nothing is throwaway. Even paths that look wrong can hide something essential. There's no quest marker, only your memory. And that makes every step more tense, more deliberate. You learn to pay attention. Dark Souls isn't just about difficulty. It's about endurance. About pushing forward when everything seems to hate you. a game that shapes you and changes you. Elden Ring drops you into a vast open world ready to crush you without warning. Within the first minutes, it's clear there are no safe zones, no welcome tutorial. The story is obscure, filled with corrupted beings and forgotten kingdoms, scattered through cryptic items and strange encounters. It's like walking through a torn-apart book where you're left to rebuild the narrative. Everything means something, but you'll bleed to understand it. It's epic, it's cruel, and it's always one step ahead. Gameplay blends the weight of Souls with total freedom. You can go anywhere and probably die in every direction. Combat sticks to the series' punishing style, but now with more options to approach fights, you create your own style, pick your battles, and carve your path. Massive bosses, brutal ambushes, areas designed to deceive you at every turn. Mistakes are expensive, and going back is always a choice, never an obligation. The open world itself is the true enemy. Mountains, castles, swamps, deserts, everything feels built to impress and to break you. There's beauty in every corner, but it bites. Hidden cities, unexplored caves, forgotten tombs, each place tells a story and hides a threat. And just when you think you've seen it all, an invisible wall takes you to something even more merciless. The map never stops surprising you. Elden Ring isn't in a rush to be beaten. It's constantly testing you, but it also gives you the freedom to choose your type of pain. And somewhere in the middle of it all, you realize you're addicted, not just to the suffering, but to the feeling of overcoming it. Ninja Gaiden starts with blood, speed, and the clear message that you're going to die trying to keep up. The story is simple but intense, a journey of revenge and destruction that exists only to set the stage for ruthless combat. The pace never lets up. Every enemy feels trained to kill you in the most humiliating way possible. There's no time to think, only to react, and even then you'll always feel a step behind. The gameplay is insanely fast. Slashes, dodges, combos, and finishers all blend together in a brutal rhythm. Enemies are smart, aggressive, and relentless. Even the easier bosses demand absurd precision. You'll need to memorize patterns, react in milliseconds, and stay focused every second. One mistake means death. And there are no saving checkpoints, it's you versus the machine all the way through. The environments match the chaos, crumbling cities, enemy-infested temples, bizarre laboratories, everything is constantly shifting. The visuals are stylized, dripping with blood and impact. The soundtrack drives the fights forward like the game is screaming non-stop. There are barely any breaks, and when one finally comes, you're already bracing for the next massacre. Ninja Gaiden was never meant to be fair, it was made to be conquered, and that's exactly why so many give up, but the ones who push through discover one of the most addictive, intense combat systems ever made. Nioh 2 is pure chaos and death straight from the manual on brutal games. The story blends Japanese mythology, feudal wars, and supernatural forces with a dense narrative full of complex names and events. But make no mistake, the real focus is the combat, and it forgives nothing. You need to understand every enemy, every weakness, every tiny detail in the environment, because once it starts, even the smallest mistake can send you right back to the shrine. The gameplay is fast, technical, and deep. There are dozens of weapons, styles, and supernatural transformations that expand your fighting options and your risk. You manage Kai, the game's stamina, shift attacks, switch stances, all in real time. It's almost a dance. And if you lose the rhythm, you're punished instantly. The bosses are merciless and creative, and sometimes regular enemies feel even worse. The settings include war-torn castles, cursed forests, and villages drenched in blood and fire. There's a ton of variety, and the maps hide traps, secret paths, and optional challenge zones. Everything feels built to test your awareness. Some moments look beautiful, but never without pain. The atmosphere blends historical and dark fantasy elements in a way that makes the journey feel heavy and meaningful. Nioh 2 demands patience, study, and adaptation. But once you understand its rules and stop fearing death, it turns into one of the most intense and rewarding action RPGs of the generation. When you first step into Hollow Knight, it doesn't feel like you're about to suffer. The hand-drawn visuals, soft music, and tiny creatures are completely disarming. But take a few steps forward, and the truth reveals itself. This world hides a silent brutality. The map is huge, interconnected, and completely hostile. There's no guidance, no easy upgrades. Every new area brings something worse. You constantly feel like you're going somewhere you shouldn't. Combat demands patience and reflexes. Enemies range from annoying to downright insane, and bosses are long, unpredictable, and merciless. Every hit you take can cost you minutes of progress. Your abilities won't make you powerful, they'll just give you more ways to die trying. And still, you keep going, because beating a boss after countless tries feels incredible, and the game knows it. It never goes easy, but it always delivers. The atmosphere is melancholic yet fascinating. Dark tunnels, forgotten cities, quiet groves, and echoing abysses, the world is dense, with secrets tucked into every corner. There are no arrows pointing the way. You either find it or get lost. The visuals, though simple, carry sadness and story in every frame. There's something tragic behind it all, and that makes the journey even more absorbing. Hollow Knight demands dedication. It doesn't aim to impress with graphics or cutscenes, but with how much you can endure, and once you understand how it works, the difficulty stops being a barrier and becomes part of the charm. Cuphead shows up with the face of an old cartoon, bouncy jazz tunes, and vibrant colors, which is exactly why the shock hits so hard. Hiding behind that retro charm is one of the hardest games of the last decade. Nothing here is casual, the story is simple, deals with the devil, bad bets, and a desperate race to save your soul. But really, it's just a setup for a non-stop barrage of colossal bosses and brutal challenges. Every level is a chaos showcase. Enemies attack from all sides, platforms vanish under your feet, and attack patterns shift constantly. Memorizing what happens is only half the battle, the rest is pure reflex, precision, and nerves of steel. Bosses have multiple phases, each with wild variations. You'll die dozens of times before figuring them out, and even then, one slip-up can ruin everything. The hand-drawn art is gorgeous. It's easy to forget you're suffering when the game looks like a 1930s animation, but that doesn't make it any easier, just more sarcastic. Each boss has its own personality, rhythm, and mechanics, and even after so many deaths, it never feels unfair. It's like the game keeps saying, "I told you this wouldn't be easy," and you keep playing, laughing in frustration. Cuphead doesn't care about being nice. It wants you to suffer and then laugh about it, because beating a boss is a victory you scream out loud, a reminder that you just conquered something that felt impossible in style. In Lords of the Fallen, you're not facing one world, you're facing two. Reality splits between the realm of the living and the dead, and when you die, you don't get sent to a menu, you're thrown straight into something even worse. The game doesn't settle for just being hard, it wants to be cruel. The atmosphere is dark, medieval, and suffocating. The story blends corrupted faith, sacrifice, and twisted rebirths. Nothing is clear, nothing is safe, everything wants to consume you. Combat is heavy, brutal, and demands constant awareness of your enemies. You wield massive weapons, corrupted magic, and a device that lets you shift between worlds. But using it well is far from simple. Bosses show up with insane patterns, area attacks, and punishing speed. Even the environment tries to kill you with traps and hazardous zones. There's no rest, and if you think you made it, it's only because you haven't seen the other side yet. The two realms are linked but different. The world of the dead is darker, more aggressive, more merciless. You see hidden paths, enemies that don't exist in the living world, and secrets you can only reach by taking real risks. Switching between them becomes part of your strategy, but it also makes exploration heavier. Every step is a gamble, and mistakes are never cheap. Lords of the Fallen shows no mercy. It gives you a deep system, striking visuals, and creative design, but it comes at a cost. Only those who accept double the suffering will see it through. Remnant II looks like a standard third-person shooter, until you actually try to play it. The goal here isn't just to survive, it's to survive knowing you'll fail dozens of times before you figure out what's going on. The story mixes collapsed dimensions, cosmic horrors, and lost technology in a world soaked in despair. No matter where you are, everything's unknown, hostile, and ready to punish you. Progress is never straightforward, the world reshapes itself randomly, always against you. Combat blends fast-paced action with strategy and precision. Every weapon has real impact, but no gun will save you on its own. Enemies are fast, coordinated, and usually outnumber you. Bosses? Full-blown events. Some require specific mechanics, insane pattern recognition, and instant reaction. Co-op is an option, but it doesn't make things easier, just more chaotic. Die? Start again. Learn, retry. There's no other way. The variety of worlds is a strength and a trap. You never know what's coming. A desert full of tech traps, parasite-infested forests, or collapsing civilizations. It's all unpredictable. The design is stylish, sure, but it's made to confuse you. Nothing is just pretty, it's a threat in disguise. Even the environments are out to get you, and they succeed. Remnant II demands more than good aim, it takes attention, adaptation, and serious patience. If you don't learn, it swallows you. But if you stick with it, you'll find one of the most intense and creative shooters in recent years. Blasphemous II is a prayer carved in blades, blood, and regret. The story dives deep into religious mysticism, in a world where faith and pain are fused until they're indistinguishable. Everything you do feels like sin, and everything that hits you feels like punishment. The game doesn't explain much. It simply throws you into a landscape of eternal repentance, full of symbols, broken statues, and whispers of dark truths. There is no hope, only penance. Gameplay follows the Metroidvania style, but with a focus on pure punishment. You choose between distinct weapons, each with unique attack styles and special abilities. Combat is fast, ruthless, and technical. Button mashing gets you nowhere. Timing is everything. Every boss is a work of art that wants to destroy you, and the game knows you'll lose. The art is grotesquely beautiful. Every screen looks like a decaying Renaissance painting. The color palette, the detail, the tone, it all builds the feeling of being trapped in a religious nightmare. There's beauty, but it hurts. The maps are filled with hidden paths, absurd detours, and merciless traps. The music is slow, heavy, almost sacred. Everything serves the mood. Everything weighs on you. Blasphemous II shows no mercy, but it rewards. Every boss slain, every cursed zone cleansed, every sin carried to the end, it all matters. And this time, pain is part of your faith. There's no time to breathe in Sifu. Every fight is a real threat. Every enemy could be your last. The twist? Every time you die, you age. That makes you hit harder, but also become more fragile. The game turns failure into its core mechanic. The story is simple revenge, but what really matters is how you handle time, because it doesn't stop and it demands a price. Gameplay is built entirely around martial arts. Every strike is precise, every movement realistic, and the rhythm feels like a classic fight movie, but nothing is for show. It's all pure technique. You study your opponents, react in real time, and time every move perfectly. The dodge and block system is deep, and one mistake can ruin everything in seconds. There's no such thing as an easy fight. The environments follow the cinematic tone, tight hallways, neon-lit clubs, crumbling temples, all designed to serve the combat. Every area has its own visual identity, drawing from different styles and cultures. The art direction is minimal yet elegant, but never loses that aggressive edge. The game is beautiful and violent, a rare mix. Sifu is about discipline. You don't win because you got stronger. You win because you got better. Every defeat teaches you something, and when you finally succeed at 70 years old with a sliver of health, the victory is unforgettable. The Surge 2 takes the Souls-like formula into a gritty industrial future with no mercy. The threat isn't demons or curses, it's rogue machines, corrupted implants, and desperate humans. The city is under lockdown, swarmed by armed factions, robots, and mutations. Chaos rules, and your only shot at survival is ripping pieces off enemies to keep yourself whole. Gameplay revolves around targeted combat. You choose where to strike, eyeing enemy gear, chop off an arm, and you might gain a new weapon. But nothing's easy. Every fight demands strategy, positioning, and perfect timing. Enemies are lethal, bosses even more so. Death is common, progress, a reward, and your character's growth depends entirely on how bold you are. The urban zones blend tech slums, military zones, devastated areas, and vertical structures packed with secrets. Level design is sharp, filled with alternate paths, shortcuts, and hidden dangers. The aesthetic is raw, all rust, smoke, and artificial light. The game doesn't try to be pretty, just convincing. The soundtrack keeps the tension high, the world is on the edge of collapse, and you feel it at every step. The Surge 2 is about adaptation, a game that rewards survival instincts. You're not fighting mythical beasts, you're fighting the worst humanity has built, and that makes every win more bitter and more real. Nothing in Mortal Shell feels familiar. You have no face, no voice, no identity, just a hollow body that inhabits the shells of fallen warriors to survive. The story is minimalist, but dripping with symbolism. A world drowning in darkness and suffering, where even time seems sick. Every step brings doubt. Every enemy, a deadly threat. Everything echoes with silence and death. Combat is deliberate and strange, with a unique mechanic that lets you harden your body to absorb attacks instead of blocking. This flips the usual rhythm. You switch between offense and rigid defense with precision. Enemies are slow but brutal. Bosses demand patience and careful reads. Mistakes are expensive. Healing is slow, resources are scarce, nothing is generous. Every lesson is learned the hard way, as it should be. The environments are damp, dark, and claustrophobic. Lifeless forests, crumbling temples, flooded caves. The art leans into discomfort, grotesque details, and shadow-based design. Little is said, but everything has meaning. Even the shells you inhabit have their own stories, combat styles, and limitations. Discovering and mastering each one is part of the journey. Mortal Shell doesn't try to be a clone. It writes its own rules and dares you to learn them. It's tough, strange, slow, and dense, but if you embrace it, you'll find a Souls-like with a soul of its own. You don't walk in Ghostrunner, you run, jump, slide, and die. A lot. The premise is simple: a cyberpunk world ruled by oppression, and you're a cybernetic warrior trying to climb a tower overrun by machines and tyranny. But nothing is easy. One hit kills. One mistake resets everything. The game demands perfection at full speed. Each level is a puzzle of movement, precision, and total spatial awareness. Gameplay is a reflex showcase. There's no health bar, one shot and it's over, but in return, your movement is insanely fast and fluid. You wall run, slow time to dodge bullets, and execute enemies with surgical slashes. It all feels like choreography, and each new stage adds something to mess with you more. When you get it right, it's stunning. But until then, it's pure trial and error. Visually, it's a neon-soaked spectacle of rain and concrete. The vibe mixes Blade Runner aesthetics with vertical design, tight corridors, and treacherous platforms. The electronic soundtrack fuels every step, ramping up the pace and tension. The spaces are tight but open enough for creative execution, and even at top speed, the game stays razor-sharp. Ghostrunner offers no forgiveness, but when you hit that perfect run, clearing a level without dying once, the feeling is unreal. It's the kind of game that turns repetition into mastery and demands every drop of it. Dead Cells doesn't waste time with a long story or deep explanations. You're a cursed body, trapped in a cycle of death and rebirth, trying to escape a living prison that's constantly shifting. The game doesn't care about easing you in, it throws you forward and sees how long you'll last. Everything is fast, punishing, and unpredictable. You will die, you'll lose everything, you'll start over, and still, you'll keep trying. Combat is snappy and addictive. Dozens of weapons, powers, and combinations completely change how you play, but none of them will save you from a dumb mistake. Enemies are varied, with patterns that are hard to memorize. Bosses are brutal, and just reaching them with your sanity intact is already a win. Difficulty ramps up as you go, and the game loves to surprise you with new punishments. The maps are procedurally generated, but full of logic. Castles, caves, labs, and forests appear in new forms with every run, but the challenges are always real. The pixel art is stunning, with fluid animations and lighting effects that make everything more dynamic. The soundtrack pushes you forward, even when everything's falling apart. Dead Cells doesn't want you to get lucky, it wants you to learn, adapt, and actually get good. And when that happens, every new run becomes a chance to prove you're ready. Hellpoint throws you into an abandoned space station orbiting a black hole. Everything around you feels cursed by some cosmic intelligence. The story is dense and confusing, full of symbolism and cryptic lore that only makes sense after a lot of suffering. It's a sci-fi world laced with occult horror, where fear comes not just from the darkness but from what lurks inside it, and the game never rushes to explain. The difficulty is harsh, and the combat is heavy. Perfectly timed dodges, quick draining stamina, erratic, aggressive enemies. You'll need to study every swing, learn every pattern, and accept that you'll die. A lot. The station changes with lunar cycles, affecting bosses, enemies, and even secret events. The game never gives you full control, and that makes it even more unsettling. The setting is pure disorientation, decaying tech halls, strange cults, corrupted machines, and interdimensional beings. The architecture is maze-like, the progression non-linear, and the atmosphere constantly threatening. There are no bright colors, only dark metal and sad neon. Everything reinforces the feeling that you're far from home and way too close to the end. Hellpoint is for those who want more than difficulty, they want mystery and paranoia. A game that mixes sci-fi with existential horror and demands skill every step of the way. Furi is pure tension packed into boss fights. No levels, no breaks, no prep, just you, your sword, and a series of endurance duels against warrior-shaped monsters. The story is strange and simple. You wake up in a prison and must defeat each jailer to escape, but every fight hides layers of pain, truth, and madness, and every boss is unique in looks and mechanics. Combat is fast, technical, and relentless. It blends sword action with bullet hell shooting. You need to dodge, parry, strike, and survive near impossible patterns. One mistake, and it's back to the start of the fight. The learning curve is brutal but fair. The game demands perfect memorization and execution. There's no middle ground. You either master it. The arenas are symbolic and empty. Each one represents something larger, a desert of isolation, a golden prison, an illusion of peace. The electronic soundtrack is part of the battle, pulsing with every move. There are no distractions, just the fight, just the rage, just the silence before the next war. Furi is built to push your limits. A boss rush marathon where victory only comes through cold blood, sharp reflexes, and total control. And that's exactly what makes it so addictive. Steelrising reimagines the French Revolution invaded by deadly machines. You play as a rebellious automaton caught in the chaos, facing Baroque metal soldiers with lethal movements. The story blends fiction and politics, creating an original setting where every mission feels like a new tragedy. It's like French history being rewritten in steel and fire. Combat follows the Souls-like formula with great balance. Fights are rhythmic and punishing, and the heat system forces restrain attack too much, and your body overheats, locking you in place. Weapons are creative, with flashy moves and beautiful effects. Bosses impress with their size, complexity, and design. Everything shines right before it kills you. The environments steal the show. A ruined Paris, mechanical gardens, flaming ballrooms, all with that twisted aristocratic touch. The machines are both beautiful and horrifying. It's a gothic version of history. The soundtrack is dramatic but restrained, underlining the loneliness of your journey. Every step is unknown ground, and everything feels fragile except the enemies. Steelrising surprises by feeling original in a crowded genre, tough, stylish, and set in a world worth exploring as long as you can take the beating. Scars Above blends sci-fi and psychological horror. You wake up on an alien planet with a fractured memory and one goal: survive. But the world is hostile on every level. Creatures are aggressive, the terrain is deadly, and everything seems to be messing with your mind. The story unfolds slowly, with disturbing discoveries and an ever-growing sense of paranoia. Combat demands strategy. You can't just shoot wildly, you need to learn enemy types, exploit elemental weaknesses, and improvise with limited resources. Health drops fast, supplies are scarce, and some enemies require specific tactics. Mistakes mean death, and death means trying something new. The difficulty isn't over the top, but it demands full attention. That's what makes it so tense. The world feels truly alien. Nothing looks familiar. Floating structures, living vegetation, abstract creatures, everything defies logic. The game leans into visual and audio discomfort to keep you alert. There's no comfort, only unease. The over-the-shoulder camera and long silences heighten the sense that something is always watching. Scars Above is the kind of game that forces you to think under pressure. It's not impossible, but it's cruel. Blink and it's over. Death's Gambit Afterlife begins with your death. But the game doesn't let you rest. It makes you carry eternity on your back. The story is melancholic, full of gods, monsters, and broken packs. Everything revolves around immortality and the burden it brings. There's no relief, only new weights. And every area makes you feel like you don't belong there. Combat demands precision, rolls, charged attacks, stamina management. Everything has a perfect moment. You can build your character in different ways, but nothing comes easy. Enemies are cruel, bosses are hellish, some feel like puzzles, others pure endurance tests. Die, back to the start, learn, adjust, try again, and again, and again. The pixel art is stunning, with massive backdrops and creatures pulled from dark mythology. Everything feels huge. Towering fortresses, endless deserts, lifeless woods. Each region has its own identity and mechanics. The soundtrack is slow, heavy, full of sorrow. Even silence feels loud. The world feels like it's collapsing, and yet you push forward. Death's Gambit is about resilience. A brutally tough Metroidvania that challenges you to understand the world as much as the combat. If you stick with it, it rewards you, but only after it breaks you. Now tell me, which of these games has made you sweat and almost give up? Was there one that felt like a real nightmare, or is still sitting untouched in your backlog? Drop a comment and let me know who's really built for pressure. And hey, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next challenges. If you love tension and high-stakes gameplay, check out our Little Nightmares 3 playthrough. It's absolutely wild.